Welcome, everybody, to our Saturday morning webinar. So excited to be talking about Marco Polo today. No, not really. So this is Judy Feldhausen, and we are going to continue Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why. And I am joined today with my Marco Polo expert, Bob Wischmeier. Welcome, Bob.
Thanks, Judy. You know, there's this particular chapter in Simon Sinek's book, there's really a lot of information here. And I think, you know, from my perspective anyway, I've read through this chapter a number of times. And, you know, as we go through this, you guys think about your synergy business, but also think about your personal lives. I think that's really what's really important about, at least in my opinion, about this particular chapter. Sometimes it can be a little hard applying Simon Sinek's information to the little businesses that we have. He kind of focuses on a company, on a big company, a movement, you know, why we do the things that we do. But network marketing is all about self-improvement. And so when we read like Simon Sinek, when we read this kind of information, from my perspective anyway, it's as important to me to apply these principles that we learn in my personal life as it is my business life, and sometimes even more important. You know, I've spent years of my life, decades working with youth, and I've learned so much through my years as a synergy distributor because I've had to focus on my own personal self-improvement. Reading books and trying to learn new ideas, learn new principles. It's been helpful with raising children and grandchildren, working with youth, all of those kinds of things, Judy. So yeah, a lot of information, but let's be thinking about this even from a personal life perspective, as well as how does this apply to my synergy business?
Well, you're so right. Yeah, you're so right, Bob. I believe it does. It applies to whole life. So our personal lives, definitely see how this relates to you as we go through this information, and to network marketing. And for those people that do network marketing on the side and maybe are employed by another company, how it applies to the current situation that you are in a regular 9-to-5 job. Because it's all about starting with why, right? That's what Simon Sinek says. But as we move on in the book, he expands on this idea to not only start with why, but really know how to do that, to know the how of whatever your why encompasses, to know your mission, but create a vision from that. And we'll be talking about that today, and actually what the process is and who is involved in that.
Perfect. So I wanted to begin, you guys, with sharing some thoughts. Energy excites, but charisma inspires. And I think this is just a perfect way to begin this conversation this morning. And I'm going to use a little story to start. I'm using Bill Gates in my story. I used to really like Bill Gates when he was with Microsoft. I kind of have different feelings about Bill Gates anymore. It's not for this particular webinar, but anyway, I'm going to tell a little Bill Gates story because it applies here. I don't know how many of you know this, but when Bill Gates stepped down as CEO of Microsoft, his friend Steve Ballmer replaced him. And Steve Ballmer just loved Microsoft. I mean, the guy was just a fanatic about Microsoft. When they'd have get-togethers and meetings, Steve Ballmer would come out on the stage with this huge energy. You know, one of those guys kind of reminds, when I was thinking about this, kind of reminded me a little bit of Howard Hanneman. When he'd get out on stage, he could really excite a crowd. And that's what Ballmer would do. You know, he'd pump the crowd up. He's one of those guys who'd kind of run back and forth on the stage and pumping his fist and, you know, being loud and all that kind of thing. And it does get people excited. Listening to Howie when he would do synergy events, I loved listening to him. He made me smile. I'd be sitting there, and the moment he stepped out, that big grin and full of energy, I would begin to smile. But the point that I wanted to make this morning is, how long does that energy last? What about the next day or the next week, the next month? That energy starts to fade off, doesn't it? The energy.
We are broadcasting live from the Hyundai Studios, the local Hyundai dealers, brought to you by, and I think that Bruce.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I muted.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. I appreciate that very much. But energy alone, it just doesn't keep a company focused. But what would happen, you guys? Old Bill Gates would get up there on that stage as well. And he was shy and he was awkward, kind of a little bit of a social misfit, He wasn't energetic when he spoke. However, when he did talk to the Microsoft people listened carefully. He didn't rally the room, get everybody all fired up, but he did inspire the room. And when he spoke at those meetings, people took what he had to say. They carried it with them sometimes for years. He didn't have to have that kind of energy that Ballmer had, because he inspired the people at Microsoft. Energy motivates, but charisma inspires. And all great leaders have charisma, because all great leaders have a clarity of why they're doing what they're doing. They've got that undying belief in a purpose or a cause that's bigger than themselves. Well, I was studying through this. One individual who came to my mind, Judy, and I thought about this a lot all week long, is Mother Teresa. This quiet little poor nun, but when that sweet little lady spoke, her words went around the world. She didn't have all that energy, but she certainly had the charisma, the power of who she was when she spoke. Charisma doesn't have anything to do with energy. It comes from a clarity of why. And and when you stop and think about your own lives, and I think about this a lot, it isn't necessarily our career path that matters so much. We may not have a ton of passion for the job that we've got, but if our internal cause is there, and I think back to when we first got together and listening to Dan Hammer talk about his why and his faith and this desire that he had, his why having to do with his faith and his beliefs, and how that motivated him to get out of bed every day. That kind of excitement, that's what's different. That's what brings a cause to life. And for me, when I look at my Synergy business, it has never been about wealth. Now that's just me. But my internal cause has always been about helping people. That's just the way I'm wired. I love to fix things. I love to, if I don't have a project, if I don't have something to work on to keep me busy, to make something better, I'm not a happy camper. It isn't the money for me, and it has never been the money for me, but the fact that we market products that actually work, that there's an efficacy in every single thing that we market. So when I talk to somebody about one of our Synergy products, it comes from deep inside of me. I absolutely believe in our products, and that's what motivates me. Judy?
Absolutely, Bob. And really, that's where if the leader has a strong why, people tend to follow that person, and there inherently becomes a loyalty to do and be whoever that leader is really projecting for why they are doing it. And the thing is, the leader alone cannot create a movement. It has to be amplified. The leader is just, they just have a belief. Now, it's not just a belief because it's important. It changes the world. But if the leader doesn't spread his belief, if he doesn't create followers, then the movement doesn't happen. You know, the leader has the dream, and the people that follow him is that small group that really looks at the how they're going to magnify and live that dream out. We really need those people because a leader can't do it themselves. The visionary is a visionary. Martin Luther King did not go up into Washington, D.C. with that plan, that with 12 points of how he was going to go and achieve all of his dream. He just talked about the dream, and the people underneath him, the people that grabbed that dream, they figured out the how. One of those people was Ralph Abernathy, and he knew really, really well how to realize that dream, how to amplify the source of information. So for every great leader, there is someone that is going to really grab onto the dream and figure out the how. And if the how isn't figured out, it's never going to happen. Isn't that right, Bob?
Well, that's right. And those individuals, people who know how to make things happen, they're the ones that end up sort of creating the infrastructure, if you will, on any kind of a business. Your leadership, the visionary, can imagine this destination, but it's those how types who find the route to get to that destination. Those are the people who really, and most of us really are how type people. I have never been a visionary. Believe me, my imagination is really small, but I can get work done. I can catch the vision and I can go to work on it. That's where I shine in my personal life. I love that. I love being able to get boots on the ground and get things going. I'm not a visionary at all, but I'm a good how guy. And I think most of us, for the most part, I think most of us are like that. Those who know why need those who know how, right? I think that's fair to say. I wanted to share in Simon Sinek's book, he talks a little bit about Walt Disney. Now, I don't know how many of you have spent time at Disney World or Disneyland, but I've been to Disneyland many times, and I've even had at Disneyland in California. Walt Disney had an apartment up above, let's see, it would be in the French Quarter, up above the, well, anyway, after Walt Disney passed away, they took that private apartment of his and they made it into a really high-end restaurant. And it's called Club 31 or Club 13, Club 31. You wouldn't even know it was there. But my son Gabe had friends and connections in California. I went to, Bonnie and I went down there one time, and he'd made arrangements for us to have dinner at that club. And all it was just a door in a little alcove. Everybody's walking around in Disneyland, and here's just this little alcove with a number on the door. That's all. There's no signs or anything else. And when your time comes for your appointment to have dinner in there, the door simply opens and someone invites you inside. We had that opportunity to have dinner there. Stepped inside, went upstairs, and the walls were lined with original drawings from Walt Disney. And I mean, it was just fabulous, just gorgeous with this incredible dinner. And it was our anniversary. They brought us out a nice dessert, all this kind of thing. It was an amazing experience, really a rare experience to be able to have dinner at that club there at Disneyland. But Walt Disney made a really interesting comment when he was, once he got established, and he was talking about his brother, Roy. He said, if it hadn't been for my big brother, I'd have been in jail several times for checks bouncing. I never knew what was in the bank. He kept me on the straight and narrow. Because Walt Disney was the dreamer. He was the why guy. But his brother Roy, and Roy was, I think, 8 years older than Walt, but Roy was the sensible older brother, right? The how guy. And Walt Disney needed Roy Disney to make things work. Walt Disney would dream, he would draw, he'd imagine. His brother stayed in the shadow, but his brother Roy is the one who formed that empire, that Disneyland empire. He was a brilliant financier, businessman, And he turned Walt Disney's dreams into reality. You know, he's the one who built that company that ended up bearing his brother's name. We need each other. And why kind of people with vision, they can't make that vision go any farther without somebody who knows how to make it do. They see things that don't even exist yet, and somebody else helps them to make it work. Judy?
That's so true. And so many entrepreneurs really fancy themselves as visionaries, as the why people. But in reality, such a huge percent of them are really how types. They, if you ask them exactly, hey, what they love about being an entrepreneur, so many people say that I talk to say, well, it's being able to work when I want to work, be my own boss. And I love to be able to to do the work that I love. Well, the work that you love is not necessarily a visionary type. It is really a how type. Business is a structure, and there's systems and processes. And though the how types really, like Roy Disney, really were able to create $1 billion business out of Walt's visions.
Yeah, there's a quote in the book. I jotted it down. Simon Sinek said, "It's the partnership of a vision of the future and the talent to get it done that makes an organization great." You have these two different things, right? You've got that vision, but you've got to have a way to make that vision move forward. And generally speaking, you just have to have help with that. You've got to have a how person step in there. There's a difference too, I think, between a vision statement and a mission statement. That vision statement, that's the vision, is the founder's intent, right? Why the company exists. But it's literally the vision of a future that doesn't exist yet. So the mission statement has got to be a description of those guiding principles, or how we're going to get from here to there to make that vision work, how the company intends to create that future. And, when those two things are together, when that visionary individual, that why person, and that get it done how guy can work together, great things can happen. Great things can happen. You can go from good to great. You can do a Walt Disney thing even. But one of the things that Simon Sinek pointed out as well in his book is that often that dynamic with the why guy and the how guy, those two individuals, generally speaking, know each other. Maybe they're brothers, like Walt Disney and Roy Disney. Maybe they're both ministers, like Dr. Martin Luther King and Ralph Abernathy. They were both ministers. They knew each other. They were close, together, and on and on. Southwest Airlines, Apple, all of these individuals who, the why guy and the how guy, were close friends. They had a close relationship. They had things in common for a very long time. And I think that's an interesting dynamic, and one that I had never thought about before, Judy.
You're right, Bob. I had not thought of that before. And the way Simon Sinek has talked about it, this is how I visualize the why, the how, and the what, is to actually take that golden circle and kind of stretch it out. So when I was reading this, I was actually visualizing someone holding that Y in the middle of the golden circle and taking their other hand and stretching that circle outward to create a megaphone, and to take the why, how, and what, and to replace it with the people in an organization, or perhaps the people in your family that have certain responsibilities. So in a business, the why would be the CEO. That would be the person that has that vision, that knows why, what needs to be done, the why about it. But the how are the executives with his corporation. Maybe it's his partner, like Roy and Walt, or a lot of the other great partnerships in history. But another group of people, a bigger group of people, actually decides on how that vision is going to be accomplished. And then they actually give the instruction to the employees in the organization, and the employees figure out what needs to be done to actually get back to the vision. So looking at it as a megaphone, there are more and more people that support that vision, that why. As we said a couple slides ago, we need each other. We can't do it alone. It's very difficult for one person to be the visionary, the CEO, the know the why, and then figure out the how, and then complete it with all the what's that is involved. That's why network marketing, I believe, is such a great advantage, because we have the why from Synergy Worldwide. We have the executives at Synergy Worldwide that is explaining how to get that, the products that we need, how to get that vision on. And then I believe that we are almost like the employees, the distributors are going and doing the what, actually making the calls, talking to people, talking about the vision of Synergy or of our Synergy family by creating and touching 1 million people to prevent and reverse heart disease.
Yeah. It's a great concept. It's like I'm getting a little feedback. I wonder if anybody has their phone on. Well, no, that's okay. It's all good. Hey, all of this said, I was thinking about this same thing, how important it is that we do get the word out there. I mean, it's one thing to have a great vision, but if you want that vision to go anywhere, you need that. You need somebody who can make that happen. You stop and think about Martin Luther King, for example, and Judy, you alluded to this just a minute ago about Martin Luther King, when he did that remarkable I Have a Dream talk in Washington, D.C., he talked about his dream. He didn't get up and give that, some kind of a presentation on how to get this done. Well, I think, a 12-point presentation. He didn't do that. That wasn't Dr. King. This man had feelings. He had a vision, and I mean, it was powerful. He got up and he shared his vision, not how to get it done. That was Ralph Abernathy's responsibility to do that. You've got to have a way to get the word out there. With a microphone, you can get pretty loud. You can get a lot of people involved, but the belief isn't clear unless you can share that belief and get that message out properly. Money, big money. You throw money at your message. You can throw stunts, but that doesn't create loyalty. And I think that's kind of the bottom line here. The message, your message has to publicize a higher purpose, a cause or a belief that other people with similar values and beliefs can relate to. That's really what it boils down to. There has to be clarity of purpose from the top, right? Clarity of purpose, cause, or belief. And that's great, but it's equally important that people can hear you. You just have to have a clear message.
You're so right. So besides Synergy, I've become involved with helping businesses look at their future. And right now I'm working with 2 businesses. And it's so interesting to me to see their whys. And one of them is he has a business it's going to be a great business. He's looking to spend $1.1 million on advertising because he feels that that's how he can amplify his message, but he has no why. The other people that I'm working with, the people that I went to Colorado to see, they actually have such a huge why that to them, it's all about creating a better world. And they're in the agriculture. They're both kind of in agriculture, But the one that has the why, the clarity of their purpose, they inspire me to really want to help them make the world a better place, make it easier to grow crops and have better soil. And so I'll let you know, who knows when though, which one of them or both of them becomes successful, because you can be very successful in advertising. We know that. $1.1 million is a lot of money to spend on ads. And the other people that have that clarity of purpose, that want to make a world a better place, that want to stop hunger and help people in so many different ways. So it'll be an interesting journey.
Yeah, it certainly will be. It's going to be fun to watch that. I think that for us, keeping in mind that it's pretty rare that an advertisement, it may get us excited about something, but it rarely creates any kind of personal loyalty. And that's really the big difference. When you've captured someone's imagination, where like-minded people see what you're doing and embrace that, creating that kind of loyalty, holy moly, that's where the person to person, nose to nose, chest to chest kind of advertisement takes place, because someone carries your cause forward in a way more personal way than just getting excited about seeing some kind of an advertisement. I think that, at least from my perspective, I think that great organizations don't just drive products, but they lead people, and that's, I think, where the difference comes. A great company will really change the course of an industry, sometimes change the course of people's lives in the process of that. Synergy's done that for me. Synergy's changed my life completely. Pre-Synergy, of course, I had a great life. I have no complaints. I've had a wonderful life. But I'll tell you what, being introduced to Synergy products and then having truly the efficacy of the products that have made such a difference in my personal life and in Bonnie's life, boy, that's been my motivation now for over a decade. I want to share that with other people. And that's been the driver for me, Judy. I get it. So thank you. There's this clear sense of why. That's what sets expectations and higher standards, right?
Yes. And so it's all about creating that megaphone and really believing, and people know the difference. They know the difference when it comes from your heart. I believe that there's an energy field that people pick up. And if you believe it, they'll pick it up. And that creates that charisma that we talked about at the beginning, that inspires people to take the why and create a how, and then go into a what, and doing it over and over and over again.
It's almost a kind of a set of expectations, when you embrace a cause, if you will, why you're doing something. And sometimes that means that you begin to live by a higher standard, if you will, kind of, in a way. I think it can be hard sometimes to maintain that. We get tired a little bit. It requires discipline for us to constantly be talking about what it is that we have this passion about, and to remind people why an organization exists in the first place. And that's like with Synergy and our products and the kind of business that we do. It's all about quality exposures. If we're not talking to people, if we're not getting the message out there, if we're not communicating with people, be it sending people to watch YouTube videos, or handing people brochures, or talking to people, if we're not doing that part of it, our business will never grow. You can't just sit back and expect people are going to call you because you've branded yourself as the cardio guy, right? That doesn't work. You have to be working at it. So, it just requires energy, I think, to get the job done and to stay on top of your Synergy business.
It absolutely does. And attention to detail, and just doing the work day after day after day, and looking for others to help you do that. And I think with Synergy's affiliate program that they're talking about, to have our customers help us get the message across, to now build that megaphone up even bigger, to utilize customers' love of the product to share it and be rewarded with it.
Yeah, I think that's hugely significant right now with our business. We can't meet in person, or we haven't been able to for over a year now. It really makes it awkward. But we do have opportunity to share the message of Synergy products and Synergy worldwide. But boy, I'll tell you what, to be able to have some easier tools to work with through Synergy, it's going to be hugely significant. I remember early on when Josh McKell first came on board with Synergy Worldwide, I told him how disappointed I was in trying to sign up a customer online. I used to have to, I'd have to walk a customer through and give them a tutorial how to even sign up to become a customer. Of course, I had to just do it myself every time, or call customer service and three-way in and that kind of a thing. And he's really taken that to heart, that whole idea that we need to make everything easier. And I really appreciate that about Josh. He's all about building our businesses using easier platforms. And that's going to be part of this megaphone that's going to work. And I love this slide, with respect to, say it only if you believe it. It's pretty hard to, I don't know, inspire somebody if you're not telling the truth, right?
That is so true. People can pick up on it.
I think so.
So true. And if you think about it in your personal life, even something as simple as a movie or Marco Polo, for goodness sakes. Earlier before we started today, you were talking about the app Marco Polo. I could feel your belief and your love and how it connected your family together.
I watched my little brand new, or not brand new now, but my brand new little granddaughter, Lisa, crawl for the first time on a Marco Polo.
Wow.
I mean, and my son, that particular son is he's a feisty bugger. In high school, I swear he'd fist fight anybody. He was tough. Now he's this soft dad with 4 little kids. And listening to him sitting on the couch and filming that little sweet little girl as she crawls across the floor to him, and the way he's talking to her, it can't be replaced with anything. It's a great app. And, I do have a passion for that because I get to see my grandchildren live, minute by minute, every time those kids throw up one of those little Marco Polos. So, yeah. That's how we share it, right? You wouldn't have ever heard of Marco Polo if somebody hadn't told you about it.
Exactly. And the same thing happens with our own businesses, whatever they are. We do need to share, and we need to share with our personal lives also, because that keeps us connected. And
all movements are personal. They just are, Judy.
They just are. So when each of us are thinking of our why, we can grab onto, if we're how people, we can grab onto other people's why. But it only will work if you make it personal for yourself, with the twist, with how it applies to you in your life, in your business, your career, however you are positioning it. It has to be about you and your life in order for other people to believe it. You can't use Dan Hammer's words to create a video. You've got to use your own. Those personal messages that each of us create are really received by the other person when they can relate you to the message, because it is personal.
It is. That's exactly right. And we are all different from one another. That's what adds spice and flavor to life, is the fact that we aren't all the same. It would just be a drag if we all were. We're not. And so we share according to our personality. We share the stories that I always say we need to preach from the pulpit of memory, our own lives. We use our own lives to share things with people in our own way. It becomes very personal. I know my Synergy business is personal to me, to my family, and I share it differently than you do, or differently than Dan does, or David. It's personal, and it's a beautiful thing. And that's one of the real advantages of this kind of a business, of a network marketing business. We're all about self-improvement, and we're all about doing things our own way, and staying within the guidelines, of course. We've got to be obedient, but it's all good, Judy. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this subject today. So there's a lot of information here, but I think it applies in a lot of ways. So thank you.
Absolutely does. It absolutely does. And so before we leave today, are there any questions that we can answer about really the why, the how, and the what, as we've talked about today?
No questions, Bob and Judy, but thank you. Excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
I've enjoyed it too, guys. They're very great to reinforce the message of using your own inspiration to deliver your message. So thanks a lot, and thank you for the Marco Polo again.
You're welcome.
You guys are going to enjoy that. You can create these. You create these little groups. Like Bonnie has a group with just her sisters and her brother and her dad, and they talk back and forth. And you're looking at it. You're looking at it live. It's fun.
Cool.
But we'll follow up on that.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody, and Judy, again, my personal thanks to you, and love you. Love all of you guys. Truly, we're good friends, and appreciate being able to spend some time together. I'm headed to California on Tuesday morning. I'm going to fly down, and then I'm going to load my sister up and move her up here on our farm property with us. She's going to retire up here on the farm. Going to build her a little house this summer. So it's going to be a busy summer for Bob.
Absolutely. You need to recruit your son in Colorado to come help you.
Yeah, he's trying to get me to come down there to help him finish his basement. I guess it cuts both ways.
I guess it does. Well, thank you so much, Bob. It's been a pleasure as always. And thanks everyone for being on today, whether you're alive or are seeing the recording of this. We appreciate you, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, everybody.